Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Coding Java Tech tutorial. We are going to start a new series of tutorials in Spring Boot. In this tutorial or in this series of tutorial, we are going to discuss about the complete training on Spring Boot. Complete training on Spring Boot. If you have a knowledge of the Spring, it will be very easy to learn the Spring Boot. Though it is not mandatory that you should learn the Spring Boot if you had a knowledge of Spring. No, it's not like that. If you don't have even a knowledge of Spring, still you can learn the Spring Boot. Only thing is that if you have a knowledge of Spring, it will be very easy for you to learn the Spring Boot. So let's start the Spring Boot tutorial series. Today we are going to discuss about the basic features of Spring Boot, advantages, annotations, how to create a Spring Boot project, and how to execute. Everything we will discuss. Okay, then coming different days or different sections, we will discuss about the develop the console-based application, REST application, MVC applications, and everything. So let's start quickly through the slides. What is actually the Spring Boot? What are the advantages? What are the benefits? And then what are the goals? Then how to create a Spring Boot project quickly. So let's start. What do you mean by Spring Boot? The current version of a Spring Boot is 2.7.1. Okay, for every month, every 2 months, the versions of the Spring Boot is changing. Spring Boot is a Spring module. It's like a Spring only. Spring has various modules like DAO module, ORM module, core module, expression module, bean module, AOP module, web module, MVC module, JDBC module. So many modules are there. So this is also one of the module. It used to develop the application very fast. Okay, that's a rapid application development. Okay, so the actual definition of a Spring Boot is that it's a project that built on top of the Spring framework. Okay, as I told you, if you have a knowledge of Spring, it will be very easy to learn the Spring Boot, but it's not mandatory that you must have a knowledge of Spring. It provides an easier and faster way to set up, configure, and run both simple and web-based applications. Simple means what? Console-based applications where you can execute from the main method. Web-based applications means, again, you have two parts. One is REST applications where you can have an URI, you can display the output through the data formats like JSON or XML or HTML, etc. Another web application is what? The MVC applications, where you can use a front-end technologies like the TimeLeaf, okay, JSP, or a free marker, etc. So all kinds of applications you can develop through the Spring Boot. So what is basically a Spring Boot? Okay, it makes the development very fast because it contains a built-in server. It contains a built-in web servers like Tomcat or a Jetty. Okay, and then it doesn't use the XML file for the configuration. So means to initialize the dispatcher servlet or to configure the data source or to configure the JAX Java type to JSON type in the REST applications, it never uses the configuration files, which is XML. So then who will do that? So that's what the specialty of Spring Boot. It will perform everything to the auto configuration. There will be one annotation is used for this. I will discuss that annotation soon. And then Spring, obviously, it uses a Spring, all the Spring core feature, Spring MVC feature, Spring AOP feature, the Spring web feature, everything it uses. So no configuration file means what? That is no XML files. This is what the definition of Spring Boot. The advantages of a Spring Boot. So you can use to create the web applications like MVC or REST. You can also use to develop the console-based applications, which is executed through the main method. It uses a built-in web servers like Tomcat, Jetty, etc. And it uses starter POM. So if you are using a Maven as a build tool, then the project object model is a one XML file you will come across. In that you can get the information about the dependencies, plugins, okay, what kind of jar file or war file you are going to generate, what is the version, everything you will get to know. Correct. So whenever you are mentioning the dependency, you've seen that there will be a dependency name, which is the artifact ID. There is a dependency company name, which is the group ID, and there is a version. Now, if you are using the Spring Boot, it will never ask you to specify the version, because it loads or it downloads the dependency based on the version of the Spring Boot. Suppose you chosen the version of Spring Boot as 2.5, correct? Then suppose you want the Spring Core dependency, so no need to mention the version. So it automatically downloads the Spring Core jar file version with respect to the version of the Spring Boot. Okay, so suppose you are using Spring Boot 2.5. So I think it will download the version of Spring Core as 3.0 or something. So that's what, no need to specify the version of the Spring Boot. Provides the production-ready features such as actuators, health checks, and externalized configuration. We will discuss this in the successive sessions. Like you want to check the health of the program, like whether the program is up or program is down, whether your application is up or whether your application is down, how many beans are present, how many request mappings are present, okay, how many thread dumps are present. All these informations you can get to know with help of Spring Boot. Okay, and as I told you, it doesn't use any XML files because it uses auto configuration, and it offers a command line interface tool for developing or testing the Spring Boot application. So you can also execute the Spring Boot programs through the command line interfaces. Okay, it offers a different number of plugins are also there. And then it also minimizes the rating of multiple boilerplate codes. Okay, boilerplate code means what? Unnecessary coding. Unnecessary coding, like unnecessary XML files. Because of those XML files, you need to write unnecessary codes. Or if you don't have an XML file, then you need to use unnecessary extra files, which also increases lots of import statements. So which makes you the boilerplate code, which reduces a lot of things from the Spring Boot. Increase the productivity since server is built in, no XML files, no unnecessary import statements. You can execute the program or application fast, so which also increases the productivity and then reduce the development time. So what are the features of Spring Boot? So Spring Boot used to develop the web applications like REST application or a MVC applications. Used to develop a Spring application like you can execute it from the main method. It also supports a different events and listeners. Okay, so you can also support administration features where you can make the Spring applications more secure. Externalized configuration, some of the properties of the Spring Boot can be configured in the distributed version control systems like GitHub or something. Properties file. So if you want to configure the data sources, if you want to configure the views, if you want to configure the server ports, you want to configure some other things, all you can use it using the properties file. So to configure the properties, it uses a properties file. Apart from that, it uses another format also called yet another markup language file called YAML support. And the type safe configuration, so it also supports the type safe configuration where you can execute the Spring Boot applications on various platforms, or you can also perform it externally, can configure it externally. Logging, it has a built-in logging feature. It uses the built-in logging feature. You can also use the extra login features also, but it uses a built-in login feature called SLF4J. And security, Spring Boot applications are very much secure. Okay, still you can externally implement the AUTH2 or JWT security also you can apply. Okay, and the next one, how to create a Spring Boot project. So basically many ways where you can create a Spring Boot project. But two very important techniques where you can create a Spring Boot projects are, one is using a Spring Starter project and the one is through Spring Initializer. So I will tell you how to create a Spring through the Spring Initializer. Okay, so to create a Spring Boot project through a Spring Initializer, you are not supposed to do anything. You just have an Eclipse, that's it. You need to have an Eclipse for that. No need of any plugins or something. Just have an Eclipse there. Then once Eclipse you have installed, then you can go to the website of the Spring Boot. So I am going to the website of the Spring. Okay, so this is the Spring Initializer website you are having. Okay, this is a Spring Initializer website you are having. And then you can choose which version you want. You have two built-in build tools. One is Maven and Gradle. So I will choose Maven. So I'm using the version as 2.71771 is not there. 6.7.2 I will choose, which is the latest one. 2.610 also you can use. Okay, and then these are the group ID. So you can change the group ID to whichever the things you want. You can use like this. Code.java. Okay, and then this is a physical program. And then the description of the project, demo project. And then jar file. Var file is another one if you want to develop the MVC applications. These are the versions we have: 8, 11, 17, 18. So I will choose 8 only. Okay. So, and then if you want any dependencies, then you can use these dependencies here. So various dependencies are provided. You can use the web dependency. So add dependencies you can select. So you can use a web dependency. Can select the web dependency. Okay, and similarly, if you want to select data JPA dependency, then you want to use a MySQL dependency. Okay, so but so like that you can add the dependency. Now you can also check what are all the dependencies you selected by clicking on this explore. So here is what you can see here, the starter form, we can call it. Okay, so it has the current version which I have chosen is 2.60. Now the first version I have selected, first dependency I selected is Spring Data JPA. Okay, it is used to work with the Hibernate. I will tell you later. So now see, there is no version tag is present. Now it downloads the version of the jar file with respect to the Spring Boot version. The Spring Boot version I took is what, 2.6.10. So based on that Spring Boot version, it downloads the version. So all the jar files, it will do the same thing. Now it will download all the dependencies related to the Hibernate, JPA repositories, everything. Now this one will download all the dependencies related to the Spring Core, Spring Web MVC, and then Jackson JSON dependencies. Okay, which converts the Java type to Jackson types, JSON types. Okay, so and also automatically the web server will also comes under this dependency. Okay, it will download the dependencies of the what we can call the Tomcat dependencies. Okay, so again the version of the Tomcat server will be depends upon the version of the Spring Boot which you have selected. And then this is a MySQL driver, it downloads. Okay, again which version it downloads? It downloads a version of the MySQL selector based on the version of the Spring Boot. So then after that, if you want to check the dependencies here, I think you can't see here, or you can see. No, here you can't see. If you do it in Eclipse or STS, you can do it. Now, what I will do now, that's it. I have checked anything. If you want to remove, you can again go here and you can close this one, and then you can remove dependency here. Okay. So right now I need only one. I will just write the download here. Generate the CTRL and then download it. I will download it. Okay, where's the download here? Option is here, explore. Here you need to generate. Okay, see it is generated. Okay, so it is now generated. Fine. So now you can see here where it is generated. So it is in the downloads in the simple program, and you can extract here. Okay, and here you can see all this. Are you seeing here? So, and this one you need to import it in the Eclipse. This is a one way. Okay, this is a one way. You can do this technique. So another way of, and you can check the form.xml here. So in this is a form.xml, and you can see here we have the only web dependencies as selected, and the version of the Spring Boot is 2.6.10. Okay, and then the group ID is code.java.tech. Okay, that's it. So now let's I will use another technique, which is a STS technique. Okay, so that's a starter project technique. Okay, so this is a one way. So another way is what you can create the Spring Boot project using the Spring Starter project plugin. Spring Starter project plugin. Now, how you will get this Spring Starter project plugin? Now, there are two ways where you can get it. If you have an Eclipse, you can install the STS plugin. Okay. Or if you don't have if you have another ID is also there called Spring Tool Suite. Okay, which is you can go to this one and you can download it. Spring Tool Suite. Okay, I will just show you how to download it. But I have already a Spring Tool Suite. So this is a Spring Tool Suite. Here you are seeing current version is 4, and you can download it. So you can download the Windows. Okay. So once you downloaded the Spring Tool Suite, okay, so you will get a one jar file of around 700 MB or something. So extract it. I'm not going to download because I have already done it. So extract it. Extract it. Once you extract it, you will get one folder called STS folder. So copy that STS folder in your favorite directory or a favorite drive. Okay. So which I will show here. I have copied, I have downloaded, I have extracted that from the jar file, and then I have copied that in the C drive in the program files. Okay, here I copied it. Okay, so you can click on it. After clicking on it, you will get this icon. Click on this. So now you can see here this one. You can write here yes, Spring Boot series. Spring. Okay, and the C users tell is basically the what we can call it, the home directory where all the Spring Boot workspace projects will be created. Okay, so what are all the projects I'm going to create? They are in this directory. So launch it. It is Eclipse only, but it is bit different. So you can develop the Spring Boot projects, Spring Core projects also. You can also develop the MVC applications. For that, you need some web plugin, which I will tell you afterwards. Okay, so this is what my same thing, Eclipse only, but it is called STS. Now you can just increase the font here and just do that one before going to write the programs. Okay, just increase the font size. Choose a Bookman old style. And done. Fine. So now here you can see here the new. Are you seeing here Spring Starter project? This is a one plugin where it helps you to create a Spring Boot project. Okay, are you seeing here? The one is what which I have told you through the Spring Initializer, and the one is the Spring Starter project plugin. This is that Spring Starter project. Okay, so you can just go to the Spring Starter project, and now to display this screen, you must have an internet. Now, if your internet is disconnected, then automatically we'll see one red mark here. Okay, because through the internet only it will fetch dynamically. Okay, so as I told you, I can write the name as a first project. String annotations. Okay, then the Maven project, I'm going to use a Maven. You can also use Gradle also. And then version, I'm going to use 8 because in my computer 8 is there. Then I want to package it a jar file. If you want the war file, then you will use a MVC. Then the language is Java. Then my is code dot Java dot. Okay, and then the annotations, and then that's it. And then package, I'm going to change it as what? Spring. Okay, package, I want to change it as what? Spring Boot. Okay, then next, let's time to choose the dependencies. These are all the versions. The current version is 2.6.2.72. You can change it to 2.6.10. Then here I'm going to choose the web dependency. Okay, and I don't want any other dependencies. Okay, because I will tell other dependencies in the coming sections. Okay, and then that's it. Then it connects to the internet and downloads that dependencies. Okay, now it's downloading here. And it is downloaded. Okay. Downloaded. Fine. So now you can expand this project and you can see the dependencies there. Boom. How many dependencies you got? They all you got the web dependency. So means what? You will get the Tomcat related dependencies here. See web dependencies on the Tomcat dependencies, Spring MVC dependencies, then Spring Core dependencies. Then these are all the Spring Core dependencies. This logging dependency, and expression dependency. See all these dependencies come. Correct, and this is Jackson to JSON data, Java to JSON conversion dependency, which is Jackson data wine. All these are automatically downloaded. Okay, and see the version of the Spring which one it chooses. It chooses a version as what? The version of the Spring as I think it chooses the latest one, 5.3. I think. Where is the version of Spring here? Yeah, it chooses a 5.3, correct? And also it chooses a log4j as SLF4j. Okay, and then log4j also it uses. Okay, and logback classic also it uses. Okay, and also it chooses the Tomcat server version as 9.0. Okay, and then also it chooses the Jackson dependencies version as 2.13. Now, suppose you chosen a Spring Boot version as 2.5. So then Jackson data bind may be around 1.9, I think. Then the Spring Boot version may be 5.2. Spring versions may be 5.2. So based on the version of the Spring Boot, it chooses the dependencies. Now you can just now click on the pom.xml here, and you can see that the version of the Spring Boot is 2.6.10. So based on that, it will download the dependencies of the Springs and then Jackson data binds and then so everything. Okay, so this is what we can call it as a starter POM. We call it as what? Starter POM. Correct. Fine. So now my Spring Boot project is set up. Now, since you have downloaded the web dependencies, so it automatically configures the Tomcat server, which runs on port number 8080. So then it also configures the Tomcat dependencies. It also configures the Jackson dependencies. It also configures the Spring MVC core web dependencies. Correct. Because of this, it also configures the dispatcher servlet. Now, who all this done by whom? Auto configuration. So auto configuration annotation. So Spring Boot supports one important annotation called. So these are all the list of annotations Spring Boot supports. We will discuss these all annotations one by one afterwards. Now the Spring configuration is basically one annotation used in the Spring program only, Spring module only. Bean also we used. This is what the one extra annotation we are using a lot in the Spring Boot, which automatically perform the auto configuration. Spring Boot means what? Auto configuration. Everything will be configured on high, on fly. Okay, means it configures the dispatcher servlet. It configures the converts the Java type to JSON types. Okay, it configures the data source object, everything. Component scan, it scans the packages in which the classes are annotated with the stereotype annotations like repository, controller, or component, or a service. Okay, and then the rest Spring Boot application is what? It bootstraps the Spring Boot application, which I will tell now. The REST controller, it's a MVC REST application. Controller, it's a MVC annotation. REST controller is a REST annotation. Controller is a MVC annotation. Get mapping, post mapping, put mapping, delete mapping are REST annotations. Model attribute is a MVC annotation. Read the information from the HTML through the model class. Request param is used to supply the parameter from the HTML. Request body used to retrieve the response body. Sorry, request body used to send the request through the postman. Response body used to retrieve the response. The auto wide used to collaborate the beans. So these are all the annotations. But the one important annotation I'm going to use is this one. So when you create here, you can see there the package which I have used for Spring Boot. Correct? So you will note here one important class main program is present here. When you open this program, you can see here the one annotation, Spring Boot application annotation. This is a one which performs the component scanning, auto configuration, and everything will be done. Now it is basically the mixture of the two annotations. One is enable auto configuration plus component scan plus configuration. Okay, so what these annotations does, the configuration annotations will configure the bean and wires the bean. Okay, you know it. Okay, component scan, it scans the packages for the classes, annotated with the stereotype annotations. Enable auto configuration means what? It configures the dispatcher servlet, data source objects, Jackson data objects like Java to JSON conversion. All these things will be done. Okay, apart from that, it also configures the Tomcat server, etc. Okay, so this annotation is a mixture of these three annotations. So because of this feature only, you can increase the productivity and reduces the boilerplate code. Correct? So this is the heart of the program. Okay, the bootstrapping of the Spring Boot will always start from this file only. Okay, so now let's run this program. Okay, and you need to choose this one. And it is started on the port number 8080. Correct? So it is started on the port number 8080. Correct? So that's it. My Spring Boot application is up and running. Okay. Now, sometime what happens? Spring Boot Tomcat server is running on 8080, but other applications are also running on the same port, like Jenkins, or maybe you can use Oracle XE. In that case, how you can make the Tomcat server embedded in Spring Boot to run on different port? How I can do that? Now, for this, Spring Boot provides one more file called the properties file. Okay, so it is present in the resources folder. So in this resources folder, you can see here the application start properties. You can, in this, you can configure the data sources, you can configure the views, you can configure the actuators, you can configure the servers, etc. So you can configure the context paths, you can configure the application names, you can configure the some other features also, security features, everything. But I'm going to now change the port to some other port, server.port. So it will show the suggestions. Just hold on. It's showing. I can use a one port as 7878. Okay. So now now I need to run the program. I need to stop it and run it again. Otherwise, what I can do, you don't run it again because it's already started. So right now it will run. Okay, right now it will run because previous one is running on 8080. Now it will run on 7878. So what you can do is instead of every time stopping and running, you can relaunch it. This is called relauncher. Are you seeing here? Relaunch it. So now it will start on port number 7878. Okay. So are you seeing here? It is starting on a port number 787. Okay. So my complete Spring Boot project is set up. My Spring Boot project is set up now. I need to now illustrate with some examples. Okay. So like other annotations, how internally this annotation works. As I told you, I told that it's a Spring Boot application is a annotation which bootstrap the Spring Boot. Okay, application. Okay, so it is a mixture of enabled auto configuration. Okay, component scan and configuration. Now I want to prove that. How I can prove that all? So all these things we will continue it in the next session. Okay, so I hope you understood the introduction of a Spring Boot. In coming sessions, we will see lots of programs. Okay, thank you.